I think we can all agree that it is definitely time to stop letting players hire their coaches. With this Adrian Griffin firing and now the hiring of Doc Rivers, a very strange mid-season type of adjustment, especially considering that Doc Rivers was available during the offseason anyway. Obviously, Giannis took a huge part in the hiring of Griffin, right? Like reports came out, this was the guy that Giannis wanted to coach the Bucks. Yes, that did happen before the Dame trade happened. And yes, Adrian Griffin probably would have done better with the defensive side of the ball with, Drew Holiday as opposed to Damian Lillard. I personally do not believe, however, that Doc Rivers is going to be this game changing defensive coach. Yes, they're going to play better defensively under him. However, they had a pretty friggin' good offense, and Doc Rivers not known to be a great adjustment maker in the playoffs, not known to be great at having a pretty complex offense. It's pretty standard one dimensional, which is going to be good for Giannis and Dame in their pick and roll, but it's going to turn everyone else into spot up shooters unless they make a move for someone like Mikal Bridges at the deadline, which I don't know how they would do. I do not see them actually, making that huge defensive leap that a championship team needs to make. And yes, their record is good. Like I'm not trying to make it seem like the Bucks have had a bad year and that Griffin deserved to be fired. They did have the easiest strength of schedule up to this point, and that is worth something, but so does Philly, and you don't see Nick Nurse getting fired. Like they had the 29th easiest schedule up to this point in the season. So, me personally, I really don't see why they wanted to do this, especially why did they want to do this now? I remember earlier in the season when the report came out that Terry Stotts was stepping down and resigning from his assistant position because of a, disagreement with Adrian Griffin. I think that was definitely a weird thing. And again, you know, if you're gonna fire him anyway and he's lost the locker room, like that type of stuff obviously isn't stuff you can predict. But what gets me is they were looking for a coach who has championship precedent, has, actually one thing is like contributed to winning, like a winning coach historically. That type of stuff's not around in the middle of the season. That type of stuff was around last year when you fired Bud. We totally understand why you fired Bud, but Bud is pretty much the same thing as Doc Rivers. Simple offense, won one championship because of severe reliance on talent, not great adjustments during a series. Like these are the same dude. They are pretty much the same coach. One just has a raspier voice. I understand that Milwaukee might want to make a change at the head coaching spot, but like hiring outside of your organization in the middle of the season, I don't know that I can say that's the best move, especially with a coach like Doc Rivers. I just really do not think that we can look at this move and say that the Bucks really got that much better just given Doc Rivers' history. It's not out of the question that the Bucks could actually make some noise and Doc Rivers could get another championship, but you know, even in 2008 when they won, like he still had amazing coaches on his bench. And that's the other thing too. Like you're not just changing from one head coach to another. You are changing multiple assistant coaches here. Like the whole bench is getting traded out. Like at least a good chunk of it, Doc's going to bring on some of his own assistants, right? And like as he should, but people just don't understand. Like this is a very very big move in the middle of the season to make. And I get it. If you don't believe in Adrian Griffin, you don't believe in Adrian Griffin, and I can totally understand, not believing in him, but it's been half a season. It's been like 40 games. I think a lot of people, especially because of how the Pacers have dominated the Bucks this regular season, are going to say that Adrian Griffin would not have been that coach come playoff time. And I get it. That type of, argument can be made for sure. But, you're just taking one inexperienced coach that you don't know what they give you for a coach that has a mid ceiling, like, yeah, it's possible that they get to the conference finals with Doc, but do you really trust Doc with a series lead? I don't. And I think even when Boston won it, not only did they have good assistants, but they had a stacked super team. Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo, Kendrick Perkins, Eddie House. Like, there were players on that team. Doc Rivers needs all of the talent in the world to win. And that's just to even have a chance at winning. It doesn't guarantee anything. I think really what my issue is I totally understand what the Bucks are saying right now, but this all could have been avoided if you just picked the guy or picked Doc Rivers at the start of the year. Like, you fired Bud, you had your options in the offseason. You could have gone after a guy like Nick Nurse if you wanted that championship expertise and experience. At least Nurse has not as big of a history of blowing leads and still has that one championship under his belt and on his resume, right? So you could have gone after him. But there were plenty of guys, like, even if you wanted Monty Williams, obviously Monty's not doing a great job with the Pistons, but who knows what he would have done in Milwaukee? You know what I mean? You don't know. So for me, I just feel like this is not the time to have done that. Like, I know you don't have to like bury yourself in your own grave there, but it's just a very weird time to make such a coaching change. With that said, when the Cavs beat the Warriors, came back down 3-1, they fired David Blatt around the same time and promoted Tyronn Lue. Now, here's how this is completely different. A, Tyronn Lue was a hire from inside the organization. They just promoted a guy from the bench and, made him the head coach of the team, similar to what the Celtics did with Ime Udoka, replacing him with Joe Mazzulla, who, again, was on Ime's staff. Not to compare the two because they're not exactly the most similar, but it is to say that, hey, I get it's possible, right? It's possible that the Bucks didn't totally royally screw themselves over by either hiring Griffin or hiring Doc Rivers. You still have half the season to get everything together and get ready for the playoffs. It feels weird to make this move this suddenly, almost out of nowhere. And like the reports of, the in-season tournament, the Pacers blew them off the court, or like the team blew a lead and broke down and whatever. It's just like, it's an in-season tournament game, like, I don't know. Me personally, I wasn't that concerned with the Bucks against the Pacers. I just feel like the teams don't match up well. Like, I don't know what hiring Doc Rivers is going to do to mask your horrendous perimeter defense. I get that Doc is a good defensive coach. The problem, in my opinion, is personnel. So I don't think you can blame Adrian Griffin for the fact that this team sucks on perimeter defense. If the team isn't bought in, that's a fair point, right? It's the coach's job to get the players amped up to play. They need that buy-in from the players for, the coach to actually make a difference. So maybe Adrian Griffin really was this horrible person. Obviously, you've seen the clip of him, all the team dancing the game after he was fired. So that's definitely bizarre. And again, with the thing with Terry Stotts at the beginning of the year, like, there's definitely some evidence to say, all right, maybe Adrian Griffin just was not the guy. But I just feel like you could have figured that out before you hired him. But you know what I mean? You were trying to serve Giannis, and, Giannis said he wants to win. So you're going to get him the pieces that he wants because you don't want Giannis to leave in free agency. You know what I mean? Like, this whole offseason, he was like, hey, I just want to win. I'll go to friggin' Chicago if that's what it takes to win. And it's like, oh, so that's why Dame trade happened. That's why Adrian Griffin's hiring happened. Like, all of these pieces happened to keep Giannis happy. And now they fire him to keep Giannis happy. So it's kind of in this weird, like, LeBron situation. And again, once they did what LeBron wanted, they came back down 3-1 in the finals. So we'll see if the Bucks do anything. I just think that, one, it's a mistake to let Giannis have this much control. And two, if you wanted a guy with championship experience, there were better guys in the offseason previously that you could have chosen over waiting for Doc Rivers now. And three, it's definitely better to have hired Doc Rivers in the first place than to fire Adrian Griffin now and then hire him halfway through the year. It's going to be interesting. I don't know what's going to happen, but I will say this. it's going to be a treat to watch it all unfold.